got a moment. When they see you down, just know they love it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bounce Back Podcast. I'm your host, B. Luke, and I have a special guest with me today. So why don't you just tell the people your name, where you're from, and a little bit about what it is you do for the incarcerated community.
Sure. My name is Lynn Courier, and I'm an advocate that works with people incarcerated when their rights are being violated, which happens every day, as you know. And I also help people with parole packets, and now I help people flip their cases if they're wrongfully convicted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from the Randolph area, Boston, kind of back and forth. But I've been working in the prisons for like 18 years.
Wow.
I went in as a guest for community people that wanted to help stop the violence years ago. And then the guys, they just sucked me in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what was it that got you initially into this type of work that you do?
Yeah, it came literally out of my work trying to stop the violence in Boston. And to give some background, because people were like, well, why does she care? They see me as a whatever middle-aged white woman, whatever. Yeah. But I have a son, well, I'm part Abenaki, I'm part indigenous, and my son is Cherokee Blackfeet and Black American. So as a kid, I saw all the things that my friends were, my Black and Native friends were telling me. I had my white privilege, but my son didn't. So then I saw how, young people of color really get set up, a lot of blocks, especially in areas where they're not as well off, you know the deal. And it happens to young white kids too, but it's really prevalent, as you know, with kids of color, anyway. So I saw the worst case scenario was the violence, and that these kids, a lot of them don't have the choices that they should have. And I just started working with the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute. Okay. Yeah, I produced their first Survivors Homicide Month, which was a beautiful thing. And so I was around people mothers that had lost their kids, and it was just breaking my heart. So I'm like, okay, now I need to help stop the violence. Right. So long story short, I started really just doing street work. I worked over in Bowdoin, Geneva. And we had a lot of young people that would come in that we knew were involved in definitely street life, and even probably gang banging a little bit.
So just for clarification, you say you had young people come in. Is this like a community center? What kind of place is this?
It's a place, it's called Another Course to College now, but it used to be the log school. And everybody, it was like a safe haven for the young people. They'd hang out on the porch, they'd come in and we'd give them, if we had a party, we'd give them the food, leftover food, just nice. They'd come in for GED or whatever. So I was there all the time, and we actually had 2 kids. It's horrible. 2 kids die right on the street, right outside. I'll never forget it. It was horrible. Jeez. One of them came over to the other and died together. I mean, it was. And then ironically, I met the mother and the siblings of the kid at one of the walks. The Mother's Day walk. And I'm like, it was deep. It was deep.
These were kids that would come to the center? Or just from the neighborhood? I
think they were kids. I know the woman whose boy, the woman that I met. Her son was from, I think, maybe Orchard Park. Okay. So they weren't in their neighborhood. Yeah. But I don't think, well, we don't know. We don't know, know. But, those experiences just got me very, very deep into the work. And then Diamond Darrell Jones, he heard about my work, and Chuck Turner and Darren Howell. And, Darren and I were talking, we became friends, and he said, I think maybe, you're doing a lot of work, maybe you should be involved. We're bringing people from the community in because Diamond really wants to help stop the violence because they're the missing link on the inside, of all the communication that happens and the retaliation. So I got invited in, and the reason I stayed doing the work, and I stopped going to events that were beautiful, but I stopped because you can't be a, quote, volunteer and go to events and do the kind of work that I really wanted to do, which was with other people that I mention their names, but was that we saw how the COs were threatened by these intelligent black men, and you know how they can be, and you've seen it, I'm sure.
Yeah,
and they they were just profiling them, framing them, lugging them, splitting up the group.
Yeah.
We were trying to save lives.
Yeah.
So
and what institution was this at? Or this?
The first one was OCCC.
Okay.
And then those are for the events and meeting with the guys from the AHC, African Heritage Coalition. That was Diamond, Mac Hudson, this guy MT, Fuquan, just a bunch of great guys. And anyway, so me and Chuck Turner and Mac's stepmother, Lorraine Folks, and Bishop Dickerson, Bishop Texera, and Mel King, we all came together and we said, "Oh, this is some BS." Like, and the real elders, I was the baby of the group, but they would they'd seen enough, you know. I mean, Mel had been in the trenches for like 40, 50 years, you know, and he just died recently. I don't know if you know about him.
I know a friend of mine. When he had passed away, was posting and stuff like that. So he told me about him. Yeah, real good community guy, right?
Yeah, it's like the grandfather of the black community. Chuck's like the father, you know, and they were best friends. But anyway, so all of us came together. We had to have a name because we had to identify ourselves when we went after the DOC, because we started nailing the DOC when they profile these guys and lug them for like months, you know, way past when they should have, and they were framing them on top of it. So we decided to call ourselves the Massachusetts Six.
Okay, the Mass Six.
That made us feel. Me and Lorraine, you know, we did. The men didn't care. They're like, just call us when you need us to come, because they were like, a lot of them had been doing it so long, and they were great for meetings like with higher level people, you know. But anyway, so yeah, that's how it all happened. And the work I have done the longest, like say 16 of those years, was really like helping out like that, you know, when guys would get lugged in DDU or whatever. We would have a phone chain, we'd get people flooding the lines, you know, calling the governor's office, whatever we had to do to make it happened.
Sometimes you have to,
We got so we could get people out of SEG in like 10 days.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes on in there with my brother being down for 16 years on a life bid, parole life bid, but he's also a diabetic. So it's like that the health care in there is horrible. He's supposed to be getting stuff at certain times every day so his blood sugar stays on point. With the lockdowns and everything. That's impossible. Any little bit of trouble. Two, now you're getting canteen restrictions, and he needs certain foods to be able to regulate his blood sugar level. And I think these are things that they don't really realize what goes on, and it's super specific. So I look at it like an oversight, but
you're being polite.
A little bit. I benefit of the doubt.
The
benefit of the doubt.
And
you
that's
know
good.
I just think it could be an oversight. You know what I mean? But I think people need to be aware of certain things like that. Like I feel like as a diabetic, he should be able to order food and regulate as much as he could. But they're able to, you know, put him on canteen restrictions. You got to pay all this money. Everything's money as well, which I'm sure you know too.
Yeah.
So what kind of things have you accomplished? Like, what happens? Do you get people out the hole? But like, is there any accountability for the administration, for the staff? Is there anything like that?
No. I mean, we went after them. I still have with David Yarde and TG. They were in the hole at the same time in Concord, along with a guy Donald Williams. I don't know if you've heard of him, but they're all good guys. And TG and I are very good friends. And David and I become, you know, he's almost like family. But anyway. They do whatever they want, and they get because they've been in the system for like 20 years, so they all know each other, and they all have something on each other. That's my theory, and other guys have told me this. So there is no accountability. Right. There's no accountability, and right before COVID, I got a ad hoc group together of my group, and Jamie Eldridge, Rachel Rollins was a DA. And some legislators, and we were about to go to the DOJ to say you need to clean house. Right. I'm going back to that too, between you and me and whoever watches this. But it's barbaric, you know. It's barbaric. It's against every human. What they do is against every human rights law ever made. You know, everyone knows common sense, but they also know from research, you know, that isolation or segregation is torture. And after a few days, the mind starts to change and break down. And for some people handle it incredibly well. I don't even know how they do it, but you don't go unscathed, you know. So I want to revisit it because you know.
I hear you. What do you think is the best way to go about trying to get something changed with the prison system?
Well, I mean, what I just said obviously is one of the biggest ways. I mean, I'd like to see them phased out. I think there are some people that are mentally ill to the point where they are dangerous to themselves and others, and they need to be isolated from society, but in a humane way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But everyone else,
I think for the most part too, that's the view that people get of like inmates or incarcerated people in general, is like that 2 or 3% that these people are probably either very mentally off, or just some people are just animals. They're just bad, evil, whatever it may be. Most of the time, it's just people that are just products of the environment. Young kid that made a mistake. You know what I mean? Real life, people are just good guys that just
people with addictions.
Addiction, everything.
Yeah,
it's horrible. And what do you think it is? Do you think that we just need to raise more awareness? Or do you think people really look at it like they don't care because they assume, okay, they're in jail, they're guilty, they're a piece of crap?
Yeah, I think a lot, and this is what I try to do. This is why I bring photos, and I highlight different men that I work with and that I know, because we need to, one, humanize, but bring them into the community, so people see, like, this is your brother, this is your, whoever. Right. Because they are, quote, forgotten, and they know it better than anybody. But also, there needs to be a lot of education of people that aren't as affected by it, like people in the suburbs and the country. They need to understand who these people really are and what their story is. Besides all the other stuff that everyone's doing, legislation and all that stuff. But we've come a long way, and we're seeing some real serious movement. I'm doing something right now that I'm just really excited about. But it has to be like a multi-pronged attack, so to speak. But a lot of it is education and accountability for the system that likes them there. Yeah. It's big business.
Think some sort of civilian oversight of the administration would be
Guess
some
what?
arbiters. Go ahead.
You're going to love this. Yeah, that's what I'm really excited about.
Is that what you were working on that you were just talking about that you're excited about?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the one piece is the behind the wall, brutality. That's, getting them gutted out, get rid of all these people. But the other thing in the system is I created this fall with a bunch of guys. I have 18 men, but pretty much 20. They're all coming in at different times. We created a coalition, and they all have campaigns now, and it's called the Coalition for Judiciary Accountability. And guess what we're insisting on? I just talked. Luckily, I've been doing this work for so long. I'm friends with all the AG. We used to do youth work together, Wow. And her top civil rights people, her top PLS directors, her top attorney, chief of whatever it's called, chief attorney. But anyway, as a coalition, we've gone to them, given them all the guys' bios, photos of them to humanize them. They're all wrongfully convicted. We have proof of that. We have proof of corruption, misconduct. And we're laying it out. We're saying, we need to have a meeting. We need an independent commission that will look at these, will oversee the DAs, and we'll go to the Internal Review Bureau, the Integrity Review Bureaus, or whatever they want to call them. Some of the counties have them, some don't. Okay. But they'll go and they'll literally oversee them, because what's happening now is people will go to them with blatant, like David Yarde, blatant, evidence. And they don't want to touch it. So they pretend they're looking at it, but they don't.
So let's talk about that. I want to talk about David. I had an interview.
It's not going to discourage me. I called Lala's number and she banged on me. Yeah. I have no shame. I'm in a desperate situation where I need help. You guys are public figures and you claim you do activism and stuff like that. And my evidence is pretty clear. I'm giving everybody an opportunity. You can reach out to the expert himself. Yeah. I'm not gonna limit you from that, or you can speak to my lawyer. I'm giving people the opportunity to help me, and even though it's not working out the way I expected to work out, getting in contact with those people, I'm not discouraged. So nothing much is gonna discourage me. I never had that attitude at all where I felt defeated or hopeless, and that's not my mind.
About his case that stands out, and why is it one of the main ones that you're pushing to try to get people to look at.
The reason that I'm pushing so hard with him is because I knew from day one that he was innocent. We didn't have to find evidence. We didn't have to, and besides the 4 expert reports that I'm sure he told you about, that everyone agrees. It couldn't have been. It wasn't him. It couldn't have been him. As a matter of fact, it was this guy too. Right. 2 of the experts said who it was. Right. Now, David.
But 4 said it wasn't him.
Yeah, scientifically, and a 10-year-old could see it wasn't him. If you, I don't know if you've seen the film, but I'm going to obviously show it to you and people. But bottom line is, we have all the evidence that David was innocent and was framed. It wasn't a mistake. And it was because of what they do. These primarily privileged white people, but there's other people that get into it too, but they make money and careers off from the backs of these young kids. Yeah. And instead of helping them when they're younger and they need that support that you were talking about, they're like ka-ching, ka-ching, they don't care. It's not their kid. So anyway, so what they do is they'll see an incident. And what they did in David's case, there was 3 youth involved, and they were actually being targeted by this kid that ultimately died, sadly. But he had a gun, and he was trying to, for some reason, he didn't like David. And probably because David's handsome and whatever, he was jealous at the party, who knows, Yeah. He's just charismatic. David's, likable guy. Yeah. So anyway, what happened was, it was clear it was 3 young guys. You could see what happened. You could see where they were before the camera swiveled, when it kind of went out, and then you saw the poor kid dead. Yeah. And David you can see, a 10-year-old could see that he was not the one. He wasn't within less than a second, he was supposed to jump over the other 2 guys and be the one.
John Wick?
Yeah.
Like John Wick style.
John Wick's got nothing over David.
So that's crazy.
But also I'm a filmmaker, and I saw a scene reconstruction. And at first I didn't turn up the volume, but then I turned up the volume and I listened to when the shots went off. And you could see the millisecond when the shot went off, and everyone agreed it was the same gun, same shooter, 6 shots. We all know where the casings were, the opposite of where David was. So none of that made any sense, right? But what I found out happened when I saw that, and I went, they had to have framed him, because no editor, no editor's not going to see that. Right. The first thing an investigator does is they take the shot spotter, the audio, and the video, they put it together, bingo, that's what happened. Yeah. They pretended they didn't see any of that, and guess what they did to David, which enrages me. And I talked to 3 jurors. I'm really good at finding jurors and talking. I flipped a case. I'm about to flip another one with jurors saying I would have said not guilty with the new information that they've got. But it's fun. It's like sport.
Yeah, you must be proud too, because you're helping people.
I am. It's fun. It's like, high five,
Absolutely.
But anyway, oh shoot, now I'm getting off track.
Well, so we were just talking about David still a little bit too.
Yeah. No, I'm not that far off track. But
okay.
No, but anyway, so I saw, what the 3 jurors that I talked to said to me. They said, well, we saw the video. We saw it many times. They slowed it down. And I said, but did you hear the sound of the shots? Dead silence. I said, that's how they tricked you. Do you believe it? They did not.
They played the video with no sound? So that must have been a move they did on purpose.
They framed him.
I mean, why do you think they're just like embarrassed to admit they're wrong, or do you think they're just malicious? What do you? A little bit of both.
Yeah. I mean, Hayden is a gatekeeper. He's at no one.
Okay, so
Kevin Hayden from Suffolk County. This is the county.
DA? Who is that?
Yeah, he's a DA. The past DA that framed David is Dan Conley, who had an illustrious 20-year career. Everyone thinks he's a great guy. Now he did do some decent stuff. But David's my second case where they basically framed innocent guys. The other guy is wonderful too, and he's been in 34 years. Wow. I'm literally going to meet with the guy who framed him and try to get a affidavit. Wow. Yeah, wow. To say, hey, I was hired. So that kind of thing goes on all the time. Yeah. Like the whole thing with Morrissey in Norfolk County, Karen Reed, I'm involved with them too a little bit. I was there this morning, the first day of the trial. Like this is their MO. Yeah. This is how they pull in these young people and get their rep and control. But what bothers me the most is they look at them as pawns.
Right.
They literally look, I mean, you know, I'm speaking to the
numbers,
choir,
money,
you know,
all that,
yeah.
absolutely.
And it's like, how can you do that to a child?
Yeah,
You know?
I think people look at that like almost they look down upon people, right? They think that they're better than. They think, oh, these are look at the animal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just not really in tune to. That's really not what it is.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
they get their kids going to Ivy League schools or whatever positive, you know, off to
which
the
is great that you should, but you know, it's different. You should understand that not everybody comes up like that, and you know, a lot of things go into it, and there's context.
Yeah.
Like we were talking off camera, like there's so much context that goes in before any of this stuff happens. You know what I mean? Whether it's product of the environment, you know, bad parenting. Whatever the case may be, you know what I mean? And they don't really see that. They just think this is an isolated thing. You're a bad guy, blah, 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 and they try to smoke you.
Yeah.
What do you think has been like some of the highlights of your, you know, career in helping people? What are some of your most proudest moments, you know?
Well, definitely the most proud is getting Corey Glover home, you know, Reef. He was in 31 or 2 years, and we met and we became really tight. He told me about his case, and I said, I'm bringing you home. And when I make my promise, I make my promise. So my word is my bond. And he was a young kid that was defending himself from a dealer on the street. He was 18, he was a baby. And they turned him into like, the judge was like George Wallace of the North, like one of the most racist people you ever meet. And he just turned him, he manipulated things, and he put out a woman that owned that she had issues around black men being brought up in this white town in northern Mass or near the New Hampshire border. But anyway, this judge set her illegally. And long story short, they just criminalized Corey, and he never should have been. It was self-defense.
Wow.
He never should have been in prison. So I saw that. And I tend to see these guys when they're babies too, you know, and I'm a real mother bear, right? It's like, you can mess with me, but you don't mess with kids or young people. So I literally got him home in a year and a half. And once because I went to the juror, we ended up really liking each other a lot. And she would give me messages like, tell Corey I said hi. I mean, it was really beautiful. Absolutely. That's part of this movie I'm writing. It's like, and that's what TG helped me. You know, we all got together and we said, we're bringing you home.
How long's he been home now? How long ago was this?
He passed away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a freak thing. But anyway, he had a heart attack.
At least you brought him home before
2 years.
That's God's work right there.
Yeah, but I'm very proud of that, and he was very proud of me. But I have to give him the major props because he was the one that was determined to go to the jury, and nobody does that.
Right.
Lawyers can't do that. Anyone else, though, can. Anyone else can talk to a lawyer the minute they come out the door. When Diamond won his trial, whatever, we were all hanging out, you know, celebrating outside. And as soon as the jurors came out, it was beautiful. There was only one, I think. There was only one journalist there, but immediately they tried to get a story. But we were like, hey, thank you, you know. And they looked at us and they said, and to him, and they're like, we're really happy for you. It took them 1 hour to know that the cops had set him up.
Wow, that happens so often. I just don't like how there's no accountability on their end, because they might second guess it right next time, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do this because, hey, I might get in trouble. I might lose my job. Normal stuff where you do things that you shouldn't be doing, but I don't know if they just got a super good union that protects them. It's almost impossible to get fired cops, COs, all that stuff. It's so hard.
Yeah, and I'm going to say something, but I'm going to say it kind of in a general way because I don't want to like bring up anyone's name, but I was just talking to someone who was a partner of Brian Albert, the guy whose house Karen Reed's boyfriend we know was killed in. And I said, I know you can't tell me this, but like, what does he think? And he rolled his eyes and he goes, he knows he did it. He knows they did it. He knows the cops did it. And he said, do you notice that no BPD are out there supporting? You know, they're not there saying it was Karen. He said they're keeping their distance. So the cops know. They know, they just don't, just like the COs know, just like other doctors do, you know, they don't want to say anything about their, their colleagues or whatever, but it gets uglier when it's in this, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
How many people in total, if you could guess, have you helped bring home?
Bring home. That's something new for me,
Okay.
so yeah, I can't take a lot of credit for that. Obviously, Corey was the big one. I've helped, I was 3 guys get parole.
Okay.
Mac Hudson I've helped, and this young guy, Steven, who was really brutalized. I had to keep him alive literally for 3 years. It was so bad. And then Corey, he had to do some residual parole from when he was really young, like right before the whole incident. It's a long story. He had another situation. It was a joint venture when he didn't do anything, but his friend did. Anyway, but those guys, yeah, I've helped them. And now I've got, like I said, I've got about 18 guys, close to 20, that I'm working on all their cases. It's deep, it's deep. I've got guys that have come to me, like emailed me, or I'm dealing with them and they've been suicidal.
Yeah.
You know?
That's tough to deal with.
It's real tough. I have a guy that I met literally once through his girlfriend, like on the phone, and they split up 2 years ago, and he, out of nowhere, he emailed me. I didn't think he'd even remember me. And he said, this is emotional, you know, but he said, I emailed you because I knew you cared. I mean, it's deep. Yeah. It's deep. Yeah. Sometimes I just want to walk away. It's so hard, you know. And I am going to start passing the baton because, you know, I'm not 15, you know. It's like I need to start just enjoying. Yeah. And I want to keep doing the work, but more on a policy way, you know, and writing the film and you know, doing that kind of talks, you know.
So talk a little bit about the film. What made you decide to want to write a film and do a film? And what's it about?
Yeah. Well, I started, my son and some friends were like, you need to write a book, because I've done other activism for youth too in Haiti and indigenous kids. But I started writing that, and then I'm like, this is the right time to make a film. So that I wanted to write one that was dramatic, not documentary, but I love documentaries and I want to do that, and I've done some of that. But I wanted it to be something you could go and eat popcorn at a theater, but entertainment. But there's so much information infused in it that people walk out just like understanding the world that we understand and most people don't understand. You know what I'm saying? And of course I want to have, like, you know, Blair Underwood, you know, all these great,
that'd be nice.
but you know, of course it's a dream, but I do know some people that know some, you know, eventually you get to meet people. I know someone who knows Oprah, and he's formerly incarcerated. Yeah. So I think if he liked the film, he would show it to her. So it could happen. But I got to write a damn good film, you know.
Absolutely, put in the work. I'm sure you'll get there. What's your favorite thing about doing all this work? What's your favorite part about it?
Oh, it's the love. You know, people ask me, like, how do you do it? How'd you get Corey home? And I said, a young guy about to go to law school, and I just looked at him and I said, love. I didn't have a background. I don't have a background in law, but it's real. Whenever anyone has a success in getting out of these situations, it's because someone loves them enough to care about them. And when I say love, I mean in a spiritual way, you know, human way. Yeah. But and the families, like to bring someone, and you know, to bring someone home to their mom and dad. I mean, there's nothing more beautiful than, well, almost.
It's almost like reviving someone.
It's,
you know
it's
what I mean?
giving them a new life, yeah. It's
That's a fact.
resuscitation or whatever. Because, you know, we all know that when someone goes to prison, the whole family does. Everyone who loves them does. It's really a difficult, brutal life. And yeah, that joy, that beauty, and just the guy, what they say to me. I mean, the nicknames I got, it's so cute. You know, I just love them.
What are you looking forward to the most as far as moving forward with everything?
Yeah, well, hopefully making a good film and having it be seen. My son's also doing a documentary on my work, so that's really sweet. Yeah, that's quite a compliment. Cool. He's so cute. Yeah. And also, like the policy stuff, like I said, like the whole commission, which I think we're going to get together and have a meeting with different stakeholders, I call them, and getting more guys out and getting more jurors. I got to get jurors for a couple more guys. Yeah. It's so much fun.
So what about like as far as females go and the women that are
Yeah.
incarcerated, is that something that you guys work with?
Well, yeah, I have felt bad about that for a few years now because I was brought into the men's prisons and it was just so much work. That was the focus. And
Right.
it's funny, Andrea James is an amazing women's activist, formerly incarcerated, and she's become a friend. We think the world of each other.
Wow.
And I tried years ago to hook up with some women with her, through her, and a guy actually that was connected in some way. And they just got so busy they didn't connect me. So when COVID hit, we got a grant for food money, and we gave them to different people, and there were 5 women that we got the names of. So that was my only connection. But I feel kind of bad about that.
I feel like a lot of times they get overlooked. You know what I mean? 'Cause
They
it's
do.
usually, obviously, men getting locked up. The numbers are way different, but
Yeah.
they get overlooked too. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Can I drink this water? I'm sorry to interrupt you. I knew this would happen because I have allergies.
It's all good.
I'm glad no one drank it before. It wasn't. Yeah.
Okay, my bad.
About the women.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I want to. Oh yeah, I know what question I want to ask. So I wanted to get your take on, like, what are some misconceptions or stereotypes that people might have about prisoners that might not be true, or just maybe something about people locked up that might catch people by surprise, but like in a good way.
Yeah. That's a great question. You're good. You ask good questions.
Thank you.
The first thing that I remember vividly when I started going in for these events. There'd be like 100, 200 guys, you know. The first thing I guess I noticed was I really understood what the human spirit was capable of and redemption. That guys could do, or people could do, some pretty, not good stuff, but then they evolved to these incredibly beautiful people. I told the guys once, and they're all shaking their heads. I said, I've met some of the best people I've ever met in prison, some really beautiful human beings that just didn't have a good shake, and maybe were a little out of their mind, angry, whatever, abused, traumatized youth. And they've done that soul searching. They've had older guys be mentors to help them straighten themselves out.
Need that.
So I've met some of the best people. I've met some of those spiritual people, some of the most caring people that do more for humanity than people on the street, outside, in the communities, that are bragging about what they're doing. I also the brilliance. There's so many really intelligent people.
Absolutely.
Languishing, all this talent. Musical, artistic. You name it,
Absolutely. People, tattoo artists and people that are, very, very talented. Some of the best artists that you could think of, you know what I mean? That I've seen. Even athletes too, people that are just amazing athletes in there. It's like, oh man, this kid could have been playing college ball.
Yeah.
And his life would have went on a whole new trajectory, you know what I mean? And it's sad to see, and I'm glad you're giving people second chances, because I think, that's one thing that I feel like everybody, most people deserve at least a second chance, especially the people getting locked up at such a young age. That's the thing with me. You know what I mean? If you're out here 50 years old doing certain things, I don't feel, you know what I mean? But like a lot of these people, this stuff happened when they were so young. It's like, that's not even the same person. It's not, So what's like the main message that you would want somebody to get out of watching this interview?
Oh man, that's a big question. One, that David Yarde is being held hostage, that everybody knows he's innocent. You literally are a witness to where he was 5 feet away from you when you watch this video. So that is huge. That's the main reason I'm here, but obviously all this other stuff. But I think just what we've been talking about, that average people that haven't been touched by the prison world, they need to understand that they're beautiful human beings languishing, that want and can give back to society in ways that many other people can't, and that they need respect, they need to be treated with humanity, and that also torture, barbarism is going on in our state on our tax dollar, in our name, and we need to be upset about that. And it's like, if you're not going to fight against it, you're condoning it. Don't say you don't know. You know what I mean?
You choose what you don't
knows.
change.
Yeah.
You choose what you don't change. If you're not actively changing it, then you're choosing it and you're accepting it.
Yeah,
For
yeah. You're perpetuating what you know. And a lot of times it doesn't take much. It could just be making a phone call or something just to like be a part of that wave, you know, which is what I try to do on social media, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why was it important to come up and talk about what you do?
You mean here today?
Yeah, why was it important to come up here and talk about, you know, your story and helping out with everybody?
I think because not enough people do.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I like your show, because you're talking about this stuff and it's really important, you know. I keep saying I'm going to do a podcast just about racism. I'm an anti-racism activist, and all this comes from that and classism, you know, with young white folks and, you know, all ethnicities. So, yeah, I just think the more we talk and yell and scream, the more, you know, because, you know, people don't want to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I don't care. I'm not afraid of anybody. I'll tell anybody what I think, you know.
I hear you.
And the powers that be do not want to be embarrassed. So this is a great forum, you know.
Absolutely. What is it? The emperor, and seeing the emperor in plain clothes or whatever.
No clothes.
No clothes. Is that what it is? Yeah. God, I can't even get the sayings right. But whatever. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to like help out and you know, with the cause and everything?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I say anyone that's doing the work, connect with them and try to help out in any way. It can be something as simple as, like, I know I'm working on, you know, getting a list of journalists that do, and I should have had it years ago, but you get so busy in the work, you can't do the little stuff sometimes, but like getting lists for people that are doing the work or an organization. But there's a lot of organizations and really cool people that are doing different facets of this work. So I think a combination of doing that, if you have the time or can make it, but also just talking about it. Yeah. Especially with people that don't understand. And if someone says something ignorant or insensitive, you don't ignore that. You talk to them and say, and I find, you know how it is. There's different ways to deal with people that think differently or don't think right in your mind about things. And sometimes you just kind of put them in their place. But other times I found, and I'm sure you understand that, is if you just talk to them as a human being and humanize the situation, they often will soften and not be defensive and stereotype, and they'll go, oh, wow, yeah. So I guess those two things. And then legislation, like supporting it, you know.
So who's the, like, one person that you would need to get, like, David's story in front of for them to see and for them to really make it, I don't know, one swift move of the pen, you know what I mean, to get them out? Yeah,
well, at this point, we're at the AG's office, but I don't know how that's going to go down. The governor, and we're actually going to the DOJ because they really need to investigate his case, because it's and this is why we're having so much trouble. He even went to the federal level, and they're like, but it's a historic, you know, generational almost situation where it's opening up a can of worms. The guy that actually did it, 6 years later, he killed someone else's child. Wow. He's killed 2 kids that we know about.
That's insane.
He's put hits on David.
Wow.
I mean, David's been through hell.
Yeah, and he's such a good kid. Such a good. Well, I appreciate you coming. I guess some closing words for the audience, or anything that maybe you want to talk about. We didn't get a chance to touch on, but if not, some closing words.
I don't know. You pretty much said it all. The biggest thing I guess I could say right now that I'm thinking about a lot, and this is why I got involved with the Karen Reed people, is that I think that, you know, people that feel comfortable being out and standouts, like, you know, with our white privilege, because I have it too, you know, and folks of color need to come together and say, this is a problem for everybody, you know, and that I say whenever I can, you know, that for decades, if you're a black or brown kid, you know, what's happening to Karen happens every day, you know, every week, whatever, every month. So I really want to see everybody come together, which I've been trying to work on. There's a former cop from Canton that said that he would do some press with me. I hope he does. But for David's case specifically, Dan Ray is someone I'm going to now. I've got to connect with him, and he's I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's really good. He's broken up he's broken out cases that no one else, like mafia stuff.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he's badass.
Well, hopefully everything works out with that. So I
Yeah.
guess social media, right? Or like website or something like that. Where can people find you? Maybe they want to help, or maybe they want to contribute.
Thank you. Yeah. I need to shift to my company name, Squatus Solutions, but it's all on my name now, Lynn
Okay.
Courier. It's like, have some boundaries, Lynn. But it just mushroomed. It wasn't really that intentional. So people can come to my Facebook page. David's got pages, and he's got Instagram.
I'll put pictures of all that up to
Yeah.
his Facebook and all that.
Yeah.
Yep, yours as well too. I'll do it in the beginning too, because I know if you're still watching, thank you very much. You know, I know a lot of people don't watch it all the way through, but you know, so appreciate you coming through.
They might watch it because I don't look like the people you usually have.
Hey, you never know,
all
it's
the
different.
Boys. One of the girls you got
Absolutely.
on, you know?
I appreciate you so much. Well, I guess, Lynn, thanks again for
Thank
coming
you.
by, and thank you for everything you're doing. We need more people like you fighting the fight. So, guys, that's what it is, man. Lynn Courier,
Yeah.
B. Luke. It is what it is. Remember, what's next is what you make it. Thanks again. On that note, we're out of here. Peace.
Thanks.
Bounce back and got a moment when they see you down this